aspect of our lives. He is a phenomenal musician, a cordonist, a keyboard player, a storyteller, a consummate professional, and most importantly, from everything we've come to know about him, a truly great human being. He has shared stages with some of the greatest musicians in the world. He has been an important part of the musical history of Pat Benatar, which I didn't even know. And of course, he became a member of Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, touring, carrying on the legacy of the legendary Danny Federici while bringing his own incredible voice and personality to that family. And on top of all that, Charlie comes from my old stomping grounds, Brooklyn, New York.
Okay,
We're in the hood, Brooklyn in the
all
house.
right.
But as we will all learn tonight, Charlie Giordano is so much more than the instruments he plays or all the stages he stood on. We are honored to have you here. We are grateful for your time, and we cannot wait to hear your stories about the music, the E Street Band, the people, the memories, the laughs, and everything in between. Charlie, on behalf of the Spring Nut community, we welcome you to the Spring Nut Cafe. Welcome, Charlie.
Oh, you're so kind, Howie,
Mm.
really, I appreciate that you guys thought of me, and it's great to see you all. And thank you for including me in this, and I'll try to do my best.
You're
Uh,
gonna be fine. You just be
okay,
you. You just be
I'm
you.
a little nervous, but
Don't be
um,
nervous.
You're
okay.
good.
Oh my.
We're good.
Well, I'm gonna introduce everyone, obviously, to Ryan Hilligoss back at the helm after 2 day, 1 day layoff. We didn't give him any rest, and of course, my lovely wife Julie.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that sounds
Yes,
good.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Welcome, Charlie. Welcome. Don't be
thank you.
nervous.
I'm glad you were able to get on.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you. Yeah.
Me
And
too.
of
We
course,
we
Mr.
need to have a
Stan
fem we
Goldstein.
need to have some estrogen, Charlie.
Oh,
Some kind
yeah.
of
Absolutely. And Mr. Stan Goldstein, who we all know and love. And with that, no further ado, Mr. Ryan Hilligoss, take over.
All right, Charlie, thank you for joining us and taking the time out of your day to do this. So we appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
I told Charlie I'm wearing my black scally cap in his honor tonight. He's always so well dressed, dapper looking. I
Oh,
tell you
thank
what,
you.
this last tour you were even more dapper than normal. It's like you were wearing like a mafia suit or
I
something.
yes, I this year I went with the suit, and I went to a screening of it might have been Road Diary screening, and Bruce saw me in it, and he said, "Put that in your suitcase, bring it on the tour." You know, so yeah, so I started wearing the suit, and that's fun, and change it up a little bit, and so yeah.
Was it harder for you to do what you do wearing a full-on suit compared to what you
No,
normally would wear?
no, it was fine. No, that was fine. I see myself behind you in the my Patagonia down. Can all the people watching see what I
Oh yeah,
see?
they
Oh,
can
Yeah.
see
yeah.
it.
So
Oh yeah.
it's a down sweater that I brought on tour. It was a while back, because I see the keyboard as a motif, and I haven't used that in a little while on top of the organ, and I remember how cold I got the scarf on, and just I always try to sometimes you might see me with the fingerless gloves, and
Mhm.
I always try to keep wrists, arms, and shoulders warm, and then I feel like I'm loose to really play. The organ is kind of different from piano, which is more like physical, and the playing the organ is a little more not so much gentle, but very fluid. And the warmer and looser you can be, you hear the sound is it's smoother. So yeah.
Gotcha. I think we'd all be remiss by not even notating this, but of course, yesterday Dolly Parton passed away.
Yeah.
What a musical icon, just a national
Yeah.
treasure, a global treasure. Forget about
Yeah.
the music and the songwriting and the singing, just her humanitarian efforts.
Yeah.
She was just an incredible lady, very kind, very humble. She never forgot where she came from for a second. So,
Yeah.
very sad day in the music world. So, did you ever have a
Absolutely.
chance to play with Dolly, meet her at all, be in the
No,
same room or
no,
anything?
no, I never did. But I've been a fan, and as long as from when I first heard of her, and then since then, I've seen some of the early TV stuff when she was on the Porter Wagner show, and when she's very young. I mean,
Mm.
I don't really know, but she looks like she's 19 or 20, and already great. And so yeah, it's a fantastic, country artist, and she had pop hits and 9 to 5 and things like that. Very versatile, very beautiful in tune singing, great on the guitar as well. So she really will be missed by millions and millions of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just listened to a podcast that Brandy Carlisle did recently, and she was talking about singing with Dolly pretty
Mm,
recently. And
yeah,
she said two things impressed her. She would show up if it didn't matter what was going on, a show, a recording session, a public appearance. She was on time, if not early. She was dressed to the nines, the whole makeup, the get up.
yeah,
She was
yeah,
there on time every time. She was a consummate
yeah.
professional. And the second thing was, Brandy said that, as most artists get older, their voice changes, but she sang in the same keys as she did,
Right.
40 years ago. And Brandy said that was just truly amazing to her.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wonderful.
anyway, sorry to start on that note, but I just wanted to note the passing of Dolly. So let's get to
Wonderful,
know you,
wonderful
Charlie.
artist. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Let's
Go ahead.
we will get to the Bruce stuff, obviously, but we want to get to know you personally and get some background on you. So if you could talk to us about, where you grew up, your family, how you got into music, all that kind of good stuff.
Well, okay. I live in Brooklyn now, and back in Brooklyn, and but I did grow up in Brooklyn in Diker Heights and Bay Ridge, and
Hmm.
in the '60s it was lots and lots of kids took piano lessons, and then the Beatles came in, and then also guitar lessons. So it was it was not unusual to have for kids to be going to their lesson, to be home practicing, and you walking down the street and you hear somebody practicing their piano or something. So it was, as part of that, I had piano lessons, and then always, from seeing all the British invasion bands on TV, we all had little bands. We probably weren't very good, but I played some guitar, and then kept on with the piano. And as I went to see the movie in the theater of, well, I guess in those days, all movies were in
Hmm.
theaters, or mostly, but of Mad Dogs and Englishmen. And I saw Leon Russell, and I was like,
Mm.
wow,
Wow.
you can play piano in a rock and roll band. And years later, I did 2 tours with Joe Cocker, and that was
Oh, wow.
just
Oh,
an
wow.
amazing experience. That was like, I want to say in uh, n- 89 and 90, something like that.
Mm.
Um, one in tour in Europe and one in the States. But anyway, so I saw Leon Russell, and I said, wow, you can be in a rock and roll band and play piano. Then I started playing piano in bands, and that was great. And kept up with that. And then I guess jumping ahead a little bit to uh, the kind of early to mid '70s, and I did see Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band at the Bottom Line. So I don't know if you want to talk about that now or bring
Wow.
that in later, but I would
Uh-huh.
love to talk about that a little bit.
We're definitely going to talk about
Yeah,
Well, we'll get to that to the later.
yeah,
Okay,
we'll
because
definitely
that was
talk about it.
amazing. That was amazing. But anyway, so there were places like the Bottom Line and Max's Kansas City and CBGB's, and saw a lot of people play. I saw the New York Dolls. I saw Buddy Guy Jr. Wells. I saw BB King. I saw Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. A lot of wonderful music, and I just wanted to do that. And um and the band that I was in from Brooklyn would open up for people at CBGB's and Max's,
Mhm.
and at CBGB's they always recorded every show, and uh they put out a Live at CBGB's Volume 1, and uh, and my phone rings, and it was 1976, and it was Genya Ravan, who I knew who that was because I had seen her, Genya Ravan and 10 Wheel Drive. I had seen them in the Central Park band shell, and I had seen her sing on the Dick Cavett show. And I was like, is this really happening? Anyway, she heard me playing piano in my Brooklyn band, and she was producing Live at CBGB's Volume 2 and heard me playing, and she was putting a band together, and she hired me, and it was my first kind of professional gig, and we did a little tour, and we did 2 albums, which were lovely experience. And I remember one of the vivid memories, we played in San Francisco, and we finished the show in the dressing room, and Van Morrison walks into the job. I was like, that's Van Morrison. And he knew her from England. Anyway, so that went on for a little while. And then I played with Carolyn Moss, who the guitar player was David Landau, who's John Landau's brother, who's a lovely player and a lovely guy. And I saw him just during the tour. I saw him and his lovely wife. And so that was really interesting. And then I was playing with David Johansen, and played on his live album, David Johansen Live, Live It Up, I think it's called, maybe. Anyway, and I was playing with him, and that, which was great. I mean, he's just fantastic. And then getting into either 80 or 81, we were opening for Pat Benatar, who had 2 albums out and was gigantic, and playing, arenas all over the United States. And I would be playing the opening act, and then I'd look, and behind me was like Neil Giraldo watching me, and then Myron Grumbacher another night watching me, and this and that. And rumors were starting to go around. And anyway, finished the tour, and they asked me to, I got a phone call maybe a couple of months later to come out to Los Angeles to record with them, which was thrilling. And so I got to play on, I guess that probably 81 was when that started. And so I played on Shadows of the Night. I played on Love is a Battlefield, and on We Belong, which is wonderful, and Invincible. So I probably maybe 4 albums in that time period, a good chunk of the 80s. And they were great musicians. She's fantastic, obviously. We all know that. And Neil Giraldo, fantastic. And the rest of the band, super great, and had a wonderful experience. And then going into further, towards the end of the 80s, she was, she's a wonderful mother and had 2 children and wasn't working as much, which is, of course, was 100% the right thing for her to do. And Johansson was doing the Buster Poindexter thing, and he asked me to join up in that. So I got to do that for a while, which was fantastic. That's where I first met Susie Tyrell. She was in that. And
Charlie, I have to interrupt you for a minute.
Yeah.
I just happened to be watching Buster Poindexter do Hot, Hot, Hot a few months ago, and I'm
Right.
watching it, and it's live on stage, and I'm like looking at this singer, and I'm like, God, she really looks familiar, but
Yeah.
she had a very unique smile, and I
Yeah.
was like, that kind of looks like Susie, and I was
Yeah.
like, no, that
Oh,
can't
yeah.
be her, that can't be. I had to do a
Oh,
little
yeah.
research, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Susie Tyrell.
Oh yeah, we did a lot of fun shows. We were on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which was a thrill.
Wow.
And we played, and I forgot about it until this year. We played the opening of the World Cup in '94 at the Rose Bowl. They declared the games open, and we ran out to the center of the field and lip sync to Hot, Hot, Hot. But that was a wonderful thing. And let me just throw this in between tours, because the thing I'm going to say now was really helped me with the E Street Band sound. So I don't want to skip this part. In the 80s, in between tours, like I kept my apartment in New York, and I did a lot of work with the Uptown Horns Band, and we did a lot of R&B and soul shows. Like, so I played with Sam Moore a lot,
Mm.
Percy Sledge,
Wow.
Solomon Burke a lot.
Wow.
And I did 2 shows with Chuck Berry, and there's going to be a Chuck Berry Chuck Berry 100th anniversary show at the museum in October. I hope I'm not. Well, I maybe I'm not supposed to say
They
that,
haven't
but
announced it officially yet, but word has
There's
been getting
whispers out there,
Yes.
so you're not. I
okay.
don't think
We'll
you
find
can.
out anyway.
Yes.
All right. So, but
That's-
anyway, I'm thrilled to be playing at that. But anyway, so I played with a lot of these incredible artists, and learned their music and learned so much about performance and about dedication and putting your heart into it. And so that was, that was big part of my musical education. Those shows.
That
Oh,
fit
that's
right in with a lot of what Bruce and the band have been doing for 50 years, playing a lot of
That's
that
right.
classic
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. So and then I did tour with Joe Cocker, and I did a bunch of shows with Hall and Oates, and around that time in the I would say late '80s, um, I was friends with some of the guys in Tom Waits band, and they were playing in Los Angeles. I was recording there, and I went to the show and hung out with them a little bit. And Mark Rebo, who you probably know, fantastic guitar player from here, fantastic, innovative and incredible creative musician. They had an accordion player on the tour with them, and and um and he said, Charlie, you should add accordion to what you do. And I said, I've picked those things up and I just can't get it to, I don't know how to, he says, call this. He gave me his card. Bill Schimmel, fantastic classical accordion player, gave me his card. And when I got back to New York, I called him and I started studying with him. And, and that opened up a whole world for me that I had not explored. And getting into the 90s, the accordion became a wonderful opportunity for me to grow as a musician, meet different people. Um, I started playing on a lot of commercials, where there weren't many people playing accordion at that
Mm.
time. And, people were interested in Cajun and Zydeco music and of course French and Italian. So I played, and then I did Victor Victoria on Broadway with Julie Andrews,
Holy cow.
which was so different for me because coming from rock and roll, I had never played in an orchestra before, and it was very challenging. How not being experienced in the ins and outs of orchestra playing, it was very challenging, but a great experience, and
Can we,
and the
Charlie, can
accord.
we,
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Can we just go back when you were a
yeah,
kid? I always like to know because some of the artists, it's probably about half and half that came from like a musical background, and some like had no musical background whatsoever. So when you
right.
were growing up, did your family musicians in your family, and what kind of music were you listening to? What kind of music were you
Oh
being
yeah.
exposed to as a kid?
Yeah, well, my mom played piano, um, classical piano, and played a lot of, classical music in the house. So I heard that. She
Mm.
wasn't too crazy about the rock and roll, but I'm glad that I got to hear that music. It's of course fantastic, and so she played, and my sisters also took lessons, and so but that it was pretty natural and normal. You weren't different if you took piano lessons or guitar lessons. It was very, very natural, uh, to have piano in the home in those days.
Max told us this crazy story the other night about when he was a child prodigy and he's being on stage at 7 years old and he's getting paid 25 cents a show. Uh,
Mm.
but he had a Dixieland band and they were scheduled to play the seventh grade dance at his school, and it was November the 22nd, 1963. And what happened that day.
Yeah,
It got
yeah,
canceled. He goes
right.
home. Then the Beatles appear on Ed
Yeah,
Sullivan, 3 months
February.
later, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Guys, I'm sorry, our Dixieland band is over. I'm moving on."
Mm.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I totally was blown away by the Beatles. I mean, our whole generation was. It was. I still. I just heard just yesterday on YouTube popped up like a demo of John and Paul working on Day Tripper. I don't know. It's
Mm.
brand new.
Mhm.
They put it out. I never heard, but it's just so it's just so great. I still think that they were the best, and I get inspired by I'll never equal their talent and their ability, but it's something to shoot for. It's just something to inspire you. Their greatness and everything they did. The playing of the instruments, the singing, the writings, everything. Yeah.
Charlie, now that you say that, I may have seen you in St. Louis with Joe Cocker in like 1990 because I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan in one of the great tragedies of the music world.
Yeah.
Second to last show, you guys, he played St. Louis, and then the next show was Milwaukee, and then what happened happened. So I
Right.
may have seen you on stage at the Fox Theater in St. Louis, which
It
is
it
crazy.
certainly might be. It's a long time ago, and I don't even know exactly what year it was, but it was. What year did you say you saw Joe?
I mean, it was like 90 or 90. I mean, Stevie died in 90,
Yeah.
91, so it had to
Yeah, it
be.
was around the hit that he had out at the time. Uh, um, he had just recorded "Unchain My Heart," which went on the charts. I didn't play on the record, but I did the tour for that. Anyway, but he was great. He was great. You want to hear a little Joe Cocker story
Sure.
from me?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so for a piano player, I mean, he always had great keyboard guys with him from the beginning, and but "Feeling All Right" is a great piano song,
Mm.
and that was the one I was most thrilled that I was going to get to play. So the first show, and I was the new guy in the band. They were replacing the keyboard player, and I rehearsed like one day and with the band, and then we go to Europe. And I hadn't met Joe yet. Joe hadn't come to the rehearsal. He was meeting us in Europe. So we go on stage, and it starts with the piano. Do-do-do-do,
Mhm.
do-ba-da-ba-do-ba-da.
Mhm.
Pardon my singing, but
Mhm.
and I'm playing it, and he's singing, and I was nervous, and it's Joe Cocker, Woodstock Joe Cocker, and there I am on stage, and I just getting to meet the guys in the band, and so now is my solo. There's a big piano solo, and as I'm playing, he's going like this and like this and like this. And I'm saying, oh my, I must be messing up here. I don't know what he wants me to do, but I don't think he's likes what I'm doing. And he's this and his arms. And so he goes back and singing. So now the whole rest of the show, I'm playing, but I'm also worried.
Mm.
You know, like, oh my God,
Mm.
what? So but yeah, you have to deal with it. So I went up to him after the show, and I said, Joe, it was so much fun to play. I said, am I doing something wrong and feeling all right? He goes, yeah, because you're doing this and that. He says, no, I'm playing piano with you. And I was like, oh, okay, thank God for that. And I had a wonderful experience playing with him. He was a lovely guy and very sensitive and lovely guy. Yeah.
So as a lead into, where we're going as far as Bruce and the Seeger
Right.
sessions and everything to get to that point, I just wanted to read a small section out of Born to Run about the Seeger sessions from Bruce.
Yeah.
In 1997, I recorded We Shall Overcome for Where Have All the Flowers Gone, the songs of Pete Seeger.
Right.
Growing up a rock and roll kid, I didn't know a lot about Pete's music or the depth of his influence, but once I started listening, I was overwhelmed by the wealth of songs, their richness, and their power. It changed what I thought I knew about folk music. Through Susie Tyrell, I met a group of musicians out of New York City who occasionally came down and played at our farm. Accordion, fiddle, banjo, upright bass, washboard. This is the sound I was envisioning for the Pete Seeger project. We sat up next to one another in the living room of our farmhouse, horns in the hall, counted off the opening chords to Jesse James, and away we went. We made a half dozen recordings. I sat on them for almost a decade. From time to time, I kept being drawn back to them. They weren't quite like anything else I'd cut before, and their freshness kept commanding my ear. I set up another session in 2005, then one more in 2006. Everything on the record was cut in those 3 one-day sessions,
Right.
97, '05, and '06, mostly first or second takes, and all live with a band I'd never played a note with before they showed up at our farmhouse barn dance. The Sessions Band was born. So is it my understanding that you were part of the group from New York that came to play at the barn?
Yeah, I played at the barn a couple of times. I was not a regular in the band, but I did play it at the barn a couple of times. And after one of those times, Larry Eagle, the drummer, got a call to bring the band in to record. So yeah, I wasn't a regular, but I did play with them.
So and that's what led. So walk us through like that transition
Yeah, well,
from.
I was mentioning the accordion becoming a bigger part of my life, and it led to a lot of things. As Bruce says, playing the folk music was kind of different from him being a rock and roller, and it was for me too. And the accordion, kind of from I would say from the early, maybe '92 to the early 2000s became like something that I was doing a lot of, in New York City and different groups and every kind of music. And it was accordion had been very unpopular for a long because of Lawrence Welk and people associated it with their grandparents and things. But it was becoming, like younger people were getting interested in it. And anyway, so I got to play at the farm a couple of times. And as I was saying, Bruce asked us to come and, record. And I'm not great with dates and what happened what year. I'm sure Bruce is right in the dates that he used, but I do think there were three different recording sessions, and it was very spontaneous. Uh, right away you really pay attention because you might only get one chance with this and really focus. And actually, that accordion, I don't know, can you see the red accordion back
Yep.
there?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That was I had a couple of different accordions, but that was the one I used most on
Wow.
Seeger Sessions album. And it's on the back cover, I'm holding that, but I treasure that instrument. Yeah.
Was that the first time that, I mean, because there's a video that if anybody watching doesn't know this, there is a kind of making of documentary that I think
Hmm.
Tom did at the time. But is that the first time you'd worked in that kind of environment as far as a recording session where that many people in that kind of a weird setup?
Well, I would say, let's see. I um It was like I was saying, it just happened really quickly. But we had Bruce had sat in with us a couple of times at the parties, and I right away realized you just watch him as we do now. And Max,
Hmm.
I'm sure mentioned this too.
Yeah.
And pay attention because he's a really good leader, and he'll get you from point A to point B to point C to point D. So you bring in your musicality, your experience, and then just lock in on him. And he was, he knew the songs, Jesse James and Pay Me My Money Down uh, um, Dan Tucker,
Hmm.
Oh Mary, and he had ideas for that, and he would just say, "Let's try it," and then take it up a step, and just so laser focus. And I remember, and I don't think he knew that I also played piano and organ. I don't think he did, and it wasn't really until I don't think until we went and played live for the tour that I talked to him about playing the keyboard instruments as well. But very happens very quickly and lock in. But there is something great about that as a sideman, that uh, that you it's not going to be 10, 15, 20 takes. Everybody's gonna focus, pay attention. We'll get something really exciting happening.
Mm.
I have one more question for you, and then we'll lead
Yeah.
into kind of the transition into being part of the E Street Band, how he's going to take over with. So with the sessions, pretty much most people that were in on the recording sessions were then asked to be on the tour. And I guess a general observation for me was you watch live in Dublin and like, yeah, it's Bruce Springsteen and Mr. Rock and Roll and more Mr. Born in USA, but like you watch that live in Dublin, like it's a whole different level. And it
Mm,
just seemed to me as an outside observer that he had the most fun. It was fun for him to be like when he's doing the band stuff, he's working. It's hard work. He seemed to be having a lot of fun and freedom during the sessions shows.
Well, he is very inspiring to be on stage with. I'm not Everybody knows that. I'm not saying anything new, but he really is. And when you feel the energy coming off him, and he would be jamming on that acoustic guitar, and you just feel the rhythm of it. Um, it just you feel it in your heart, and you bring it out in the playing. And he was very happy, and it was, but I really feel that we were playing folk music, but even though we were playing, there were no electric instruments, there was no electric guitar, there was no electric bass, but we did. There was, to me, a rock and roll energy that came through it. We
mm,
sometimes, for me personally, my taste, sometimes folk music can be a little too, I'm just speaking
mhm.
for myself, uh, pure and correct, but this was not that. This was rough edges, energy, and sweat, and approach to folk music. And I think that's really one of the things that people responded to.
Howie, real quick, I want to show something, and then
Sure.
Howie, you
Yeah,
can take
yeah,
over, and,
do
and
your thing.
I want to show everybody this small segment. Share. There we go. Share sound. From that to into where the bands are, whatever that was.
Wow. Well, that was great. Well, okay, we've done accordion openings, I would say maybe three times, because I know we did it once with Nils as well, who was also a very good accordion player, and uh, and I think probably in Italy, in Rome, probably, and I forget where else. But how many bands have three accordion players? I mean, it's really special, and we have fun backstage sometimes. Just playing. Roy started on accordion,
Hmm.
and Nils started on accordion.
Oh, wow.
And if you interview them, I'm sure they would love to
Mm.
talk about that, because they both. Nils was more of classical training, and I think Roy was more popular music of the day, and but both quite good. Yeah.
Howie, take it over, buddy.
So I want to sort of segue into the next phase, which is, something that obviously was an emotional time for the E Street Band,
Yeah.
with Danny being sick and first having to leave the tour, and then you subsequently filling in. So I'd like to take us back to them on when you found out that Bruce wanted you to join the band. How did that all come about? I mean, the call, what
Oh, yeah.
happened?
Well, yeah, no, John Landau called me,
Hmm.
and um, I had gone to that was the Magic Tour, and I had gone to a show just a few weeks before in Madison Square Garden,
Hmm.
and he called me, and I was shocked, and he said, uh, we've got, I think, 3 shows left in the States. I think I remember flying to Pittsburgh. He said, "Can you come out and watch the show and watch Danny? Danny is sick and needs to get treatment, and we would like you to come in and, fill in
Hmm.
while he gets treatment." And listen, of course, I was thrilled to be asked, but it is, like and we'll talk about it later, but I had seen
Hmm.
them at the Bottom Line. I'd seen them in Los Angeles. I'd seen, I was a fan of the music. I loved to, obviously a big fan of Danny's playing. I had never met him up till that point, but it's obviously it's very sad. I know that, of course, it was very sad for the fans, and of course, a tragedy for his family. And
Hmm.
so I kept that in mind in showing up, and then then there were going to be I was going to watch for 3 shows, and then there was like a Thanksgiving break, I think it was, and then go to Europe, which was in Spain, which was probably Madrid, and play. And and so it was all these feelings of being thrilled to be asked,
Hmm.
being sad and cognizant of the fans and the band and Bruce Lu, that their close buddy from the beginning was ill, and then also learning the music. I John called on a Sunday, and I had a rehearsal the next day, and a box of CDs of Bruce Springsteen's CDs were sent to the rehearsal studio for me, and
Hmm.
I opened the box, and I was like, how am I going to do
Uh,
this? It's impossible, and so I they sent me a list of the songs that they had rehearsed at um, at the rehearsals, the pre-tour rehearsals, and it was, I think it was about 40 songs. It's like, all right, well, at least it's not 240. And what I did was I had, um, do you know what a melodica is? You have a little tube, and it has a little keyboard, and um,
oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
like it's a little keyboard that you blow into it,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
very small. You can stick it in a backpack. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so I had that with me in the hotel rooms, and and I had it backstage, and I said, the only way for me to do I can't learn by ear and memorize 40 songs in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen where it's going to be good. And so I wrote all the notes, all the major parts out, made chord charts, and I wrote out, balance, dun, 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 dun,
Mm-hmm.
dun, dun, wrote them out.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? If I have this stuff written out, I've got a fighting chance to do a decent job here. And I didn't want to let Bruce down and John down, or the band or the fans. So having, you know, having done a lot of gigs where there was reading over the previous maybe 10 years, I was a pretty good reader, and that was how I approached it. And I watched Danny and listened to him, which was, incredible. But he didn't read music, so we couldn't really communicate that way. So most of the work I did on my own, and then watched the shows. And uh, yeah,
Well, I mean, we were talking to Max, and we had his son Jay,
yeah,
and similar experience where he had to step in for his dad and whatever. And we were
right.
just talking about yesterday and Monday, and he was saying that Bruce gave him 150 songs to learn. It was like 40 got off easy, but
Well, I did, and I went. I, as the week in the States was going on, I went in to talk to Bruce, and I had the list, and I said, "Is there anything that you think we won't get to in the first couple of shows?" And he took a pencil, he crossed out one song. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Must have been Thundercrack or something.
I don't know, but yeah. So that was the. There was 2 weeks between John's phone call and my first show, which I believe was in Madrid.
So
Yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, so what was the like, so you didn't meet Danny till then, and obviously you did speak with Bruce. What was, again, I'm trying to connect certain things that are some similarities. What did Bruce give you any advice to you personally about, throwing you into the fire? Because it seems like to be what he's done, like with Jay and Jake, and well, not so much Jay because he had time, but Jay and yourself. It's like, okay, learn these songs, and then we're going out on stage. You know what I mean? And it's basically on you. So,
Right.
what did Bruce say to you to sort of get your confidence going?
Well, on the show day, at the sound check on the show day, first show day,
Mm,
he said, "Is there anything you want to go over or ask about at the
mm,
sound check?" So I mentioned a few things where the recording that I had, well, it wasn't too clear, audio wise, what Danny was playing. And so went over a few things. And then he called me in to his dressing room, and he was very kind. And he said, "Don't sweat the small stuff tonight."
mm.
So that really took a load off my mind, and my shoulders came down a little bit. And my recollection is that once I got out there, um, in that first show, something kicked in, and I just said to myself, "Okay, you're a musician. You know how to do this.
Mhm.
Put all this other stuff aside, and just listen and play." And something clicked in, and I think I did a pretty good job. And the next day, he thanked me. He said, "You took a big load off my mind." So that meant a lot. I get a
Wow.
little choked up now, but he did. And then, eh, can I jump ahead a little bit, or
You
did you
could
have it?
you
Yeah,
no, no,
go
no, no.
ahead. Go
You
ahead.
Yeah.
this is all
So
about you.
and then like, first show, second show, and then they started, um, Bruce and Steven, with little more subtleties, uh, to get right, which was good. And I learned something because, okay, so we're walking out on stage, and he says to me, "Oh, racing in the street, no chorus vibrato." And I was like, "This guy knows the instrument really well," because I've been playing music, from the time at the like, so this is my 50th year as a professional musician.
Mm,
So when I met Bruce, it was 20 years ago. So I've been playing professionally for 30 years,
mm,
right?
mhm.
No artist had ever mentioned that there is a chorus or a vibrato on a B3. That ever, there's the Leslie speaker that goes fast or slow, but on the instrument itself is a chorus vibrato. So I was like, "Oh yeah, he knows." And then I did it with it off, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the sound." So yeah, oh yeah, he knows the instrument. And so then it became a period of like getting because the first time we played, I had the right notes. So that's the main thing you want to get going, but getting the sound more precisely, uh, sonically, what's on the record is obviously very important as you refine. So
Mm.
then it became like, I guess I would call it a period of refining. Yeah.
Charlie,
Well,
had you ever touched a glockenspiel or played a glockenspiel at all before?
No, no. I mean, of course, we play a keyboard. It's a keyboard sample of a glockenspiel, so it's not like you're hitting it with a mallet or anything like that. So you're playing. So on the behind you you see that gray black instrument. So that's a Yamaha motif. And so that's on top. The brown part is the Hammond organ below it, and the motif is on top. I use a different one now, but so that's a keyboard, and it's uh, running MIDI to samples. So a sample is somebody digitally recorded glockenspiel, or a bell, a string section, or things like that. And then you can play all these different sounds. You physically play them, but uh, you have a little thing that switches from a number from this sound to that sound, and a Vox organ, a Farfisa organ, an ace tone organ. I probably have over 100 different sounds that like on this tour, like at the beginning of the show, I had that kind of low, ominous, when Bruce came out and started talking, that was me playing. So that's what's happening on that keyboard that's on top of the three. And actually the Glock sound is called Dan Glock. So it was made for Danny, and yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Wow. So to follow it up, so I mean, we talk about the E Street Band, and as one of the most legendary bands, how tight they are. There's something incredibly unique about the chemistry of the E Street Band. Now that you've been playing with them, in your opinion, what do you think makes that chemistry work?
Mm, that's a really good question, and it's very hard to put into words. I will say, if I had to say, well, I can't say it in one sentence, but I'll say a few
Okay,
things to
that's
to
fine.
try to describe what it's like. Number one, those guys still love all that British invasion music.
Mm,
That's got deep inside of them as young boys, really, and it's still, um, we listen to it in the dressing room. They talk about it. They talk about, you know, so we're talking Rolling Stones and Animals and Beatles and Birds, and uh, those would be probably the biggest ones that I could think of. And of course, the whole Phil Spector world and garage bands, which they were all in. And so that is, I would say, a common denominator with those people. And a love for that, an appreciation for that, wanting to live up to that. And uh, and so that's one thing. And I think then I would also say that, um, like, there also are some really big differences. Like, Roy's style of playing is very different from mine, and so and also Stephen and Nils guitar
mm,
styles are very different.
hmm.
So there's something about the um, the stylistic differences that, like, if everybody had all the same influence and played exactly the same, it'd kind of get boring. But there's a kind of a grit and a uh um I don't even know how I would describe it, but stylistically, um people are drawn from the same inspirations, but their playing personalities are, I mean, the audience knows that,
Yeah.
Steven's particular sound and Nils' particular approach, and Roy's, piano thing, and my piano thing with Seeger Sessions, and so the differences create a little bit of that magic.
Well, first and foremost, just to go back to something that you said, and I'm saying, and I think I speak for most, but I will say that you have done an incredible job playing with the E Street Band, and we've seen you for many years now, and you have, you know, I don't want to use the word carried the torch, but it's not an easy spot that you put in, that's for sure.
Mm.
And and the same thing would happen with Jake and Clancy.
Right,
We're not replacing anyone, but
right.
what you're doing, which you carried on the band in your position phenomenally,
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
and I want, I know I'm speaking for many, to say that I want you to know that. I also, just some random questions. So is there a particular E Street Band um, song, that you find particularly challenging to play?
Um, uh, I'm trying to think.
If,
Um, I
well,
well, at this point, I've played them for. Well, all right. I will say the hardest one,
mhm.
Outlaw Pete, was hard because there were so many parts in it. So that keyboard that I pointed out, the keyboard
Mm,
controller, the the keyboard tech creates zones if there's more
mm,
than one sound that you want. So say between this note and this note, you're going to hear, the cellos. Outlaw Pete, it starts with the ding 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 ding. That was me, right? So it was
mm,
almost like synthesizer cellos. Ding 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 ding.
mm,
Then there were these big orchestral string parts, these big melody lines, and then there was uh, like a point, because it's sort of like got a spaghetti western kind of vibe to it, and there were
mm.
those like sort of church bells, and I want to say there were 4 or 5 different sounds that I had to grab, and okay, it's not over here on the keyboard, it's over here, and this and the notes and the so that I would say was very challenging. And on that tour we played it, I would say,
Yeah.
almost every show. So that was really, uh I would say, the most challenging. Yeah.
All right, so I have two more, and then I'm going to hand it off to Stan. So do you have a favorite accordion, moment in the East song, or a favorite song that you love to play, even in the past current tour?
Well, being a fan of Bruce Springsteen from the very beginning, and we eventually get to me seeing them in at the bottom line, but I knew his music. I had the albums. I had seen him, I want to say, with the E Street Band 4 or 5 times. And so, but if I had to pick one, there's something really special about Born to Run for me, and
Mm,
it's all alive, and it's a great, it's, I play that dun dun
mm,
dun dun, like the glockenspiel doubles the
mhm,
low guitar melody, and with my right hand I'm playing the chunk 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 on the organ. So that has its challenges, and there's a lot of chords in that song. There's
mm.
I don't know if any you people are musicians, but that if you want to challenge yourself, learn to play Born to Run, because there's a lot going on in that song. But I
You
will
learned
say
there's
the
nine
thing.
bars.
That's right. There's, the bridge is, and those sus 4 chords going up and forth. Anyway, but the thing about it that blows my mind every time is the house lights go up and you get to
Mm,
see the people and how happy they are. And the, uh, I would say 99% of the time I'm focused on Bruce's cues and everything, but I do take a moment to turn my head and
mm.
see the people just having, such a good time, and it makes it really, it, there's just a satisfaction that you get to be a small part of what's bringing them this joy. Yeah.
Which actually answered my next question, because I was going to say, so Bruce has always an extraordinary relationship with his audience. So
Yeah.
from your perspective on stage, what did it feel like to watch that connection happen every night?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it, it feels like, and it looks like, and it sounds like giving your all in that particular moment of time, of that song, of that phrase, of that song, and putting everything you have into it, because it is a precise band, but it also is a an emotion band. It's not, uh it's it's not classical music, and it's
Hmm.
not, and I love classical music, but I'm just saying, it's not only about playing the right notes, there is an emotion and a connection and a, um, um, yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to explain.
No, I hear you. I can only imagine. Before I go into the Stan, I do want you to, because I know Stan has some certain questions he wants to ask. But so why don't we go into the bottom line stuff
Okay.
and then
That was
and
going
Yeah.
to be my first question.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
me
I'm
too.
sorry. Then I
Well, do you want to
apologize,
ask,
Stan.
do you
Stan,
want to
ask
phrase
it.
the question differently,
Phrase the
Stan,
Stan,
go
question.
ahead.
Right.
Stan, you ask the
or just go
question.
for it?
Well, tell us about seeing Bruce at the Bottom Line in 1975. And do you remember there
Oh,
were 10 shows? Do you remember
okay.
which one?
All right, get ready for this. I
74.
saw them twice.
Wow.
Mm,
I saw the band with David Sanchez and the earlier version at the Bottom Line, and it was so great. And I had gotten the Wild and Innocent album because I had heard it on the radio, and then I took the subway into Manhattan, and I went, in those days you went to the actual venue and got the paper ticket, and I went by myself, and so I saw the band the first time, uh, that version of the band, which was very uh, influenced by soul music. There was, because of David Sanchez, there was a jazz influence in it, and there was a rock and roll influence, but it was kind of um, uh, um, like just having those soul R&B influences and jazz influences. It was fantastic show, and he did, blew my mind. And then I went. I don't know. Was that 74? That
74, yeah, was with David Sanchez. Yes.
and then so the other bottom line shows were 75.
Yes.
Right. So I went back for 75. And actually, I talked with Nils. Nils went as well in 75. I don't know
mm.
if you know that,
Yeah.
No, I
but
didn't
I've
know
read that.
he
Yeah.
went. And of course, this was really a rock and roll show, and much more, and Roy's piano style, which we were talking about different styles that musicians have, and David Sanchez obviously is fantastic on the piano, and then Roy also fantastic, and I mean, you can hear it very stylistically very different, and so I got to hear the I don't remember exact, but I'm pretty sure they played Thunder Road and things like that, and maybe they did Jungle Land. I think they probably did at the Bottom Line, and that very very brilliant, um, lush sound of Roy Bittan, and which was super great, and the power of Mighty Max,
that.
and then Steven's great guitar playing, and so I feel very fortunate that I got to be in that room, which was not a big. I don't. I Does it
Four
hold
or five
400
hundred
people,
people,
something
maybe.
like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was great. Yeah.
Hmm. Bruce has said one of his best four shows ever was the Jazz Fest show in
Oh
2006.
yeah.
And
Right.
that would have been the first official. You did some rehearsals in Asbury Park show.
Right. Right.
What do you remember about that? And were you as taken back as much as he was with just the impact of
Well,
the show?
it was, that was right after the big flood,
Right.
and so it was the first um, Jazz Fest concerts after the flood had happened. So it was, very moving just thinking about that, and the people that we had lost and the damage to homes and and the devastation that city had gone through, and so that was fresh in all of our minds. And a lot of the songs, the Seeger songs, have a spiritual nature to them, and there's no denying that. And so I think it was very moving for the audience. I could see it on their faces, and for us to be there at that particular time, and it was kind of a spiritual connection that was, you could really feel it.
Now, when Bruce filmed doing Nebraska Live in Red Bank.
Oh, yeah.
Only two musicians, you and Larry Campbell. So if you could talk
Yes.
about that a little bit.
Oh, that was great. Well, let me just say, because you said Larry Campbell. Larry Campbell is just such an impressive. I mean, he's a very good acoustic guitar player and can play Reverend Gary Davis, acoustic, and then he gets on the electric, and as I'm sure people saw him with Dylan and other things, and Levon Helm, and great rock guitar player. He plays mandolin. He plays good fiddle, and he plays pedal steel, which I think is the hardest instrument. I get dizzy just looking at it. You get the knees are going and the hands are going in different directions, and the feet are on the pedals, and so he's a very impressive and musician, and he's a really lovely person. And if you ever have a chance to meet him, and he and his wife have a duo that they do. If you have a chance to go out and see them, they're really it's just great. But Nebraska, that was Nebraska. Well, I had the early days of the Sony Walkman. I had the Nebraska the tape, so I'd be on the road, and after the show, long bus rides, and it was a great late night album to listen to. So I was very familiar with it.
Mm.
The songs, always keep going back to the word emotion, and the starkness of it, was something that I loved, and it's one of those very, very special albums. And then, when Bruce asked me to do that, I was really thrilled. So they were able to, I went to his studio, and again, talking about writing the notes out, went, Rob LeBret, who does the engineering for Bruce, he was able to get the original masters and isolate the glockenspiel parts. And so I could really note by note write it all out and then practice it at home. And they had a keyboard glockenspiel at the studio, and they uh, finessed it and got it working really, really super well. And so it was mostly that, and there was a synth on one of the songs, maybe My Father's House. I'm not great at remembering song and
Could be
sound.
Mansion on the Hill, or it could be
Maybe
Mansion on
that
the
was
Hill.
the one. Yeah, there was an early synth on one of the songs. I think when we filmed that, I think I only played on maybe 4 songs, but it's such an iconic album, and it was so unique at the time. And I think a lot of artists were inspired by that and made sort of, if you want to call it, lo-fi kind of approach to music. And there's something to me about lo-fi that brings you into the room.
Mm.
You feel like you're in the room with the person who's singing, which is very different from a sonically perfect album coming through your speakers where it kind of knocks you over. But there's something about lo-fi that pulls me in. So yeah.
You mentioned the British invasion, so you had a chance a couple times to play when Paul McCartney was on stage.
Oh my God. So Paul McCartney, I had met him. I've been introduced to him once before at the Grammys. Max introduced me to him, and I was just thrilled. And to me, if you really think about Paul McCartney as a singer, as a writer, as he plays all these instruments, and it's just so. Anyway, so we rehearsed before the show backstage, because I'm assuming that Bruce didn't want it to get out in the world that Paul McCartney was there, and so we worked on 2 songs, and then I'm shy. I'm not the kind of person that walks up to people and introduces myself. I just don't. I have a hard time with that. But anyway, one of the road managers said, Wayne LeBeau, he says, stay right here. and I knew what because he works with Ringo and introduced me to Ringo, and the first time I met Ringo, I was a sweaty mess, and and just embarrassing, dumbfounded, but he said, "Stay," and I knew he was going to introduce Paul to me. I was like, no, and he said, "Stay, don't move, stand right here." I was like, oh my God.
Love this.
So I thought, what am I going to say to this guy? So anyway, Wayne introduced me to him, and I'm going to break down right now talking about it. But anyway, the thing that I thought of to say was, and what I said to him was, with first of all, so nice to meet you, and thank you for coming to play with us. And I said, I always wanted to say, oh, I am going to get choked up now. Anyway, I'm going to try to get this out. I said, with everything that you do, your piano playing is underappreciated. And he said, oh, my piano player? I said, no, 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 not your piano player, you. And, because and then I went through, Long and Winding Road and Let It Be, and Maybe I'm Amazed, and um, Long and Winding Road, Martha, My Dear, and all. And, those songs are not easy to play them as smoothly, and there's something like that I call relaxed energy, where it has energy, but it doesn't sound pushed. And he has that on all his instruments, but he sounds so great on piano. And for me, people don't talk about it enough. So I said that to him, and he said, my piano. I said, no, you. And we both laughed, and we just chatted for like a couple of minutes more, and then got to play with him. So that was really unforgettable experience for me. Yeah.
Wonderful. And final thing for me is a comment to follow up on what you were saying before, when Born to Run is being played, when the lights go on.
Yeah.
I always turn around and look at the whole arena or stadium, all the way up top, the people in the suites.
Yeah.
And I even take my eyes off the band, just because it's so exciting to see everyone from top to bottom just get into that song. And it's a great experience.
Yes, it really is. And it's a very unique song because music theory wise, a lot of songs have form, like a form, like an A section, a B section, back to A, back to B, and then a C section that happens once. And it's like a format that, the Beatles, and I mean, in let's say in rock and roll and pop music, there are forms that are used a lot, and they're very effective and they work. But Born to Run has 5 or 6 or 7 different sections that happen, and then the next one happens, and the bridge happens, and then the there's a lot going on in that song, and it's very unique. And I don't know what else to say about it, but it's 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 like a runaway train. It's really great. And yeah.
Charlie, as we learned the other day with Max, it's a mystery to even the band. He was talking about how Jay was learning the songs and everything, and Jay said to him one night, "It's crazy how there's 9 bars, in the middle section." Max is like, "Dude, what are you talking about? I've been playing this song for 50 years. What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, there's 9 bars." And Max made a bet. "I'll bet you $10 that there's 8 bars. I know. I'm the guy." And sure enough, they sat down and listened to it, and sure enough, they counted them out, and there was 9 bars. So Jay stuck his hand out. "Where's my $10?"
Come on, Dad. Yeah, well, no, it's true, and a fair amount of Bruce's songs have, key changes and odd numbers of bars. The Devils and Dust album, and Ghost of Tom Joad has, like a bar of 2 here and there. And so there are, some things you don't hear every day in a song that happen, like in music theory, but they're not, nothing ever sounds forced. It seems very natural. And I guess, I mean, I wouldn't know, but I assume that it's just what works with the lyrics and telling the story of that song, so, yeah.
All right, Julie,
My
your
turn.
turn.
Hi,
Well,
Julie.
we always save
Hi,
we
Charlie.
save the best the last and also the
Hi.
prettiest for last. So
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I pay him to say that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so on the same line of Born to Run, it's always my favorite part of the show. Every single time. No matter what, no matter if I hear a rarity. I mean, okay, See Here Now, Thundercrack blew my mind. True.
Oh, yeah, right.
But Born to Run, just like Stan said, I turn around and I usually film it. I just go like this, it's just the best feeling. It's the best moment. The lights are up. I don't know anything about music. I just know that it makes me feel great. And that's, that's all I need.
Yeah.
So right now, Charlie, what we're going to do to you is give you our lightning round that we call the Spring Nut Shuffle.
Oh, okay.
So put your thinking cap on.
It's already got it on.
Nothing too cerebral. Just
all right. I'll do my best.
You're more like a Rorschach type of
thing.
Okay, so let's go. You're from Brooklyn, so I'm assuming with your last name you're Italian.
Yes.
Okay. So is it sauce or gravy?
Oh, sauce.
Okay.
I say sauce.
Wow.
Stevie said gravy. Interesting. Okay. Your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, I like a little Parmesan cheese on top.
Nice.
I'm a big fan. And what do you think of pineapple on pizza?
No. That's out.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
All right. We got to remember to tell Stevie that one because he's a big fan.
Whoa.
Yeah, we were shocked.
No,
we were stunned.
Really?
A little
I wouldn't have thought
Stevie
that.
trivia you can use next tour,
Okay. Pineapple.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Good man. Favorite post-show snack, if there is one?
Oh, I do peanut butter and jelly.
Nice. I love
peanut
butter.
I do peanut butter and jelly. I don't want to eat anything too heavy late at night.
I'm going to think about that one later. Okay. So you're on tour. You're in a foreign city. Which E Street Band member are you grabbing to go on a day off?
Oh, Curtis King.
Nice.
He's my closest buddy.
And we love him.
Yeah, my wife calls him my work husband. So I spend a lot of time with. I'm friends with everybody, but I would say Curtis is my closest friend, and also Nils. I'm very close with.
Very cool.
Great.
Yeah,
that's so nice.
My work husband. Yeah.
So, who has the faster fingers? You playing a blistering keyboard solo, or the fans trying to get E Street Band tickets the second they go on sale? Who's faster?
Yeah, well, I'll say they do. They're faster.
You're probably more successful than we are, though.
Okay.
Okay, if you had a theme song every time you walked into a room, what would you choose?
Oh my goodness!
Wow, your walk-up song, just like the baseball.
A walk-up song. A walk-up song of any song?
Any song.
Any song.
Doesn't have to be Bruce.
Meaning that it describes me in some way, or it's just that I.
Just what you want to enter to.
But I'm so shy. I wouldn't want a song when I walk in. I don't.
Isn't there a song you're so shy?
So can I say maybe just no song?
Just silence.
Yes.
Of silence.
I don't want to make a big deal when I walk in the room.
No song is still an answer. I mean, mine would be the opening bars to Backstreets.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Dun, 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 as I'm walking up to get my bat.
Oh, I see. Right, nice steady pulse. Right, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Okay, is there an E Street song that really wears out your hands, your arms?
Oh, that's a good question. We've been doing let's see, wears out my hands.
What makes you the most tired?
Well, I'm really not that. Well, okay, yeah, I would say it would probably be an accordion one because you're sort of, it's more physical. The organ you want to play like just, it just sounds smoother if you're just kind of tickling it in a way, rather than where a piano you kind of leaning into it. So I would say like American Land or Pay Me My Money Down or things like that would be more physically, also uh, um,
You're playing the accordion on Youngstown.
on the what?
Youngstown?
Youngstown. Yeah, well, I'm right from the top. I'm pretty much all the way through that. And Goes to Tom Joad. And that's the bigger accordion. That's the one. So the picture that's behind Stan is the Fantini. That's the larger one that I play on the tour. And it's more of a workout. So I would say those. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite E Street Band song? Not necessarily what you would play on.
My favorite song would be still Born to Run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any specific show that stands out from the rest for you?
Well, my first show, with E Street, that was, unforgettable, and then when McCartney has come and played with us and things like that. I would say those type of experiences, but really, I would say for me, and I would just say like the focus of the band, like I get the sense that everybody's thinking about the most important show is the one we're doing tonight, and I think that's not every band. I'm not going to tattle, but not every band is like that. But there's really a strong sense from everybody of that what we're about to go do and what we're doing while we're doing it is the most important.
I love that. I think that probably flows down from Bruce, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very, so I see him from the side, right? From my vantage point, and so I don't see him full on, but I can see, and from his body movements, he's I mean, how many times has he sung Born to Run? Thousands live,
Thousands.
Right? I wouldn't know, but I can listen. I've been doing this a long time. I can tell when somebody's really into it, and he is really into it. Every song, every show, and yeah, you're right. It flows down from him. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Describe each member of the E Street Band using only one word. And
wow.
I'll read out the band members, okay?
Wow.
All right, I'll do my best. I can't.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, Stevie.
Oh, one word, rock and roll.
Nice. That is one word, by the way.
That's one word.
It is for us.
For us, it's one word.
Gary.
Gary, I would say memory. Like he remembers every song and of course he was there at the beginning, and it's just there, So I always marvel about how he just kind of just doesn't have to really think about a song that didn't play for 10 years. He's just there. He's got a great ear and a great mind for that memory.
Okay, Nils.
Nils, I would say practicing. He's one of those musicians that is always practicing, reviewing, the electric guitar, acoustic guitar. He'll go over to the piano. He'll go,
and you would think he'd be the last person who would need to practice.
Right. That's right. Right. Well, I guess that's why he sounds that
Yeah.
like the way he does, because he's a very disciplined musician.
You would think at this point, playing with these guys for so long, that everybody would kind of be a little bit more laid back. I'm surprised, that he's still like that
No,
on it.
no, Nils is not laid back about practicing. He's very disciplined.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Susie.
Susie is just, soul, and I would say soul. She's so soulful in her singing and playing. Yeah.
Max.
Max, I was gonna say power, and then I thought focus, because he's so intense. I'm gonna go with focused.
Okay. Jake.
Jake, in it, like he's so in it, musically and spiritually, into every song and everything that he through the whole show. Yeah.
We definitely love Nils.
Yeah.
Roy.
Magic. I mean, this guy, let me tell you something. He also, like I was saying about Gary, also Roy's memory and ability to remember songs that we haven't played in a long time. His ability to learn a new song in minutes, because he has a fantastic ear, and in his brain he translates what he's hearing to what his fingers are going to do, and it's a remarkable talent that few have. Yeah.
Okay. You never played with Patty, or you did?
Yes, yes, I have played with Patty. I would say, um, there's a beauty in her singing. There's she touches something that is artistically really beautiful when she sings.
I'm a huge fan of her
Yeah,
solo stuff.
yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, Bruce.
Wow. Well, I mean, he, as I was talking about McCartney and all the things that he does, Bruce Springsteen, I think also there, there's the writing and the performing and the guitar playing, and he's a good piano player, and a good band, very good band leader, and on and on. And if I had to say one word, I would say care. He really cares about
That's nice.
what he's doing, and about getting it right, and about doing our best, and him doing his best. So I don't know if that's the best word, but that's what I'm trying to say. He really cares about what we're doing. Yeah. What he's doing and what we're all doing.
I mean, that rings so true for us. We see
Yeah.
it, it exudes from him. So I totally get that.
Beautifully said.
Okay, I have a million more questions, but I'm gonna let you off easy tonight with one more.
Okay.
The best advice.
I'm having fun, so don't worry about this.
Aw,
Oh,
like
I'm glad.
That's good to hear. That's what we want to do.
Very
I know,
happy.
I truly am. I was a little nervous at first, but I'm having fun.
You've done well. You've done fantastic.
The Spring Nuts love you. Don't worry about it.
All right, pipe down. This is my segment.
Please go ahead.
Okay, ketchup or mustard on a hot dog?
Oh, mustard.
Thank you.
That was easy.
We know what Bruce says about that. No mustard.
Yeah.
Sorry, Howie.
That's an easy one. Come on, you can go one.
Okay. This is the last one, though. The best advice you've ever received personally or professionally?
Personally or professionally, but best advice in terms of music, or in terms of anything?
Life advice.
Anything.
Max brought up something his dad said to him many, many years ago, and then he brought up something Bruce said to him. So it could be anything, musically, personally, whatever.
Yeah. Well, wow. Best advice. just the idea of being in the now. I mean, I've heard that from many different sources, just from learning to block out all the distractions and making an effort to block out the distractions and focus on what is happening right now. This phrase in the music, this song, and your mind has to be a little aware of the next section of the song, but just to really, um, I kind of uh, feel like I get in a zone of where I'm really listening. I'm hearing, I hear everybody in the band. We have these in-ear monitors they're kind of like these things, but what they do is it's a mold that they make to your ear. So they put this goop in your ear and they let it set. They make a mold so it blocks out all the echoes of the room and everything. And and then I have a mixer so I can hear everybody in stereo and so I kind of go into a zone of really listening and listening to how I fit in to what's happening, and Max being the foundation on the bottom, and Bruce is singing the melody, which is on the top, and everything. And then just finding that. I know you asked for a one word answer.
No. This
No,
is
no. This is this.
This is
fine.
perfect.
This is great.
Finding where the organ and the glockenspiel fit into that big picture, and that's my little puzzle to figure out. So.
Well, that sounds very nerve-wracking to me. I'd be like afraid of doing that.
Okay. Well,
what if you miss,
Well, look, you can't, that's the other thing is you can't, it's kind of like sports. You just can't be perfect. You strive for perfect, but when you walk off the stage, you have to kind of let go because you're going to miss something. You're going to rush something. You're going to, drag. So, we call it rushing or dragging when you're a little faster, a little slower. You're going to hit a wrong note here and there. And you have to remember, I remind myself, if they wanted perfect, they'd listen to the albums at home. So,
Oh yeah.
so that's the thing of kind of being in the moment, being in the song, in the particular part of the song. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure to have you
Oh,
on tonight.
well, thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
Really great.
Charlie, I have
Thank you.
two quick questions for you, and then I'll be done. Just as I've seen an inordinate amount of shows in the last 3 years. I'm not even going to say how many. I've gone overboard.
Okay.
But every time I thought you guys had it seemed like every show was like, okay, this is the best I've ever heard them. And then the next show was like even better. And
Oh,
it was
that's
like
good to
just,
hear.
as a non-musician, if you can try to just kind of, for lay people, explain how that happens. Like, as long as the band has been around and they played together, like how is it musically that the band is able to improve at that height of playing?
Well, okay. I think my take would be there's two aspects of it. One is what we've been talking about is, kind of coming from Bruce of always making every show the best and that the most important show is the one we're doing now. I think that's one part of it. And my take would be the other part of it is as the tour goes on, you can kind of refine what you're doing, and in a solo or in a certain section of a song where, like on the, I can only speak from my perspective, which is my little piece of the band, but on the Hammond organ, you have all these drawbars that like 8, 9 drawbars, and then you pull them out from 0 to 9 and this and that, and you can make these little subtle adjustments. And so I will listen to live recordings either from Nugs or from YouTube, from somebody's iPhone, and then I'll make little refinements on my sound for the next show of like, okay, I want to bring a little more highs out on this. I want to that, and I want to, so there's a process of refining. I think that goes on
That
with
explains it. Like
myself. I
little,
mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I think probably most, if not all, are on the same wavelength with that.
That makes sense. Little nuances here and there, just little
Nuances, yeah,
imperfections.
right, because it's important. It's it's not like, the nuances. If I that people could come up to me and say, "Wow, Charlie, the P3, you really should bring out that sixth drawbar a little bit." But more, it's not that, but all the subtleties make a difference that maybe the audience, they can't identify it, but they feel it, and each ingredient, almost like cooking a stew or something, like the seasonings and all, when you've made the same stew 10 times, you refine your ingredients.
Makes
Something
sense.
like that. I always feel like it's an art form and it's kind of hard to put into words. you know
Yeah. My last question for you. You've been with a band for 20 years, roughly, give or take a little bit. One of my favorite stories with music is Steve Ferrone, who is the drummer for the
Oh, yes.
Heartbreakers, or was. He was with
Yeah.
the band for 30 years. Stan Lynch left in 1994. Steve comes in.
Oh, right.
Been a drummer for years. He still
Yeah, yeah.
refers to himself as the new guy. Like he has a show on Tom
Right.
Petty Radio
Right.
called The New Guy Show.
The new,
He's with them for
right.
30 years, but that's how
Yeah,
he
yeah.
feels. So
Yeah.
you've been around for 20 years. Like, do you still feel kind of like the new guy?
Well, I mean, I can't, no, I mean, I don't think I feel like the new guy, uh, in the context of the band, because there are people newer than me, like Anthony and Ozzy and
Mm.
Curtis, and so, but I don't think of myself as an original E Street member, because I'm not. I wasn't there when Bruce and those guys created the sound and the music. So I never think that, uh, that, that my contribution has been anything close to what those people did, but I don't feel, nobody treats me like I'm new, or, they treat me great. And so it's not, I don't feel like the new guy. No.
Okay, good. All right, Charlie, thank you. This has been
Okay.
great to talk to you. I appreciate your time. Stan wants to say another thing, then Howie, but I just
Yeah.
want to say thank you for doing this. And as a fan that's seen many shows, we as the fans love you and your playing
Oh,
and where you fit in with the rest of the sound and the band.
oh,
And I spend a lot of time on the back side of the stage. I'm looking at
right.
Max, I'm looking at you. So I'm just, as a fan, speaking from the fans, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You guys have been so
Yay, Charlie.
nice to me, and oh, like I said, I was a little nervous because I am shy, but you made me feel very welcome, and you're
You
lovely people, and I hope to meet you in the real world.
Yes.
Stan, did you want to say something, Stan?
No, just
Sorry, Stan, I didn't mean.
we learned a lot about you tonight, Charlie.
Oh,
Everybody did
good,
from the
good.
comments we're getting. So
Yeah.
very interesting. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I'm just gonna close out by saying, before we let you go, on behalf of the entire Spring Nuts family, we want to say thank you. I mentioned to you before we came on the air with, live, that a lot of the Spring Nuts and Springsteen fans in general met you, in Europe during the tour, the previous tour, and we get posts all the time on how, we see pictures of you taking, and always smiling, and how gracious you've always been with the fans. And I always, people have heard me say this, and I want you to hear it. I've said this on many times to the other band members. I usually, I don't know if you're a sports fan or not, but I'm saying
Yeah,
I usually refer to the East Street Band sort of like the Yankees in a way, because the Yankees had to, like, not just play ball, okay? They had to carry themselves in a certain way, and to wear that Yankee uniform. And the East Street Band is that same way. The members of the East Street just don't play the music. They carry themselves in such a way with their fans that is, and I'm saying this objectively, that is bar none. I can't think of other bands that I, follow, that have been this gracious and this engaging and approachable, okay, to their fans, on the level of the E Street Band, and Bruce or the E Street Band that you guys have, and you definitely are one of those people, and you definitely deserve to be in that band just on that merit alone. So I want you to know that.
Thank you, Howie. That's very nice to hear. Thank you.
Okay. We've been incredibly fortunate over the years to welcome so many members of the E Street family into the Spring Nuts Cafe and to the group. And every one of these conversations has been special in its own way. But what makes them truly special isn't just the music or the incredible careers, it's getting to know the people behind the music. And Charlie, you showed us tonight exactly why you are so loved and so respected. And you know, really, you're an amazing person. I know you consider you're introvert and you're extremely humble, and we love that about you. But you deserve everything that you know you get, the love that you get and the respect that you get. You even brought out like certain members I haven't seen in the group for years tonight. They came back. I've seen comments in here. I'm like, I can't believe these, you know, they all came out to see you. Jamie from Florida, everyone was out today. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. So, it's just who you are. They didn't come. Trust me, they didn't come for me. You spent your life making music, making people smile, and helping people, helping create memories that millions of people will carry with them forever. But beyond that, it's the kindness, the humility, the humor, and the genuine spirit you bring with you that really stands out. So, in closing, from the entire worldwide Spring Nuts community, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
And thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I really enjoyed this experience, and thank you for having me. And I hope to see you all out in the non-virtual human world, hopefully soon.
My pleasure.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Our
doing
pleasure.
this. God
Thank you,
bless.
Charlie.
Bye bye now.
Charlie.
Take care. Take care,
Bye.
Charlie.
Great night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.